Hello and welcome to another episode of the USA Up All Night Companion with Dane Michael. Today we are talking about Dr. Alien, aka I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant. This first aired on October 26, 1990 on USA, paired with the film Convicts Women, and it aired a total of 7 times, all between 1990 and 1992. And normally here is about where I would give you the synopsis for the film, but instead I actually have a clip from the final time that it aired in 1992. Rhonda Shear was host, and she had a special guest. You may recognize him from the Micro Machines commercials. So why don't we go ahead and let Mr. John Moshida Jr. read the synopsis for us.
It's Rhonda here on USA Up All Night. Yes, your bedtime buddy is with John Moshida, who is now going to do a Hollywood quick fix of I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant. Ready?
Ready.
Okay.
What do Gandhi, Citizen Kane, the last Emperor, Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, and the Wizard of Oz have in common? None of them can hold a candle to I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant, starring one of the world's most beloved talents, Judy Landers, whom I had the pleasure of working with on that groundbreaking, trend-setting, mostly forgotten television series, Madam's Place. This film sets a standard of excellence that all subsequent pictures have unsuccessfully strived to equal. What plot can possibly measure up to this? To save her race and planet, an alien substitute professor, the darling Miss Landers, performs sex experiments on a student, resulting in protruding scalp lips that drive the women crazy. Will he return with her? Will he stay on Earth to head French the freshman? Will he sign a multi-million-dollar contract to promote lip gloss? Well, the viewers are kept on the edge of their seats, hands clasped, breath held. What scope, what suspense, what style, what utter majesty. I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant, a film to be treasured, a film not to be missed, a classic not to be believed. Well, you be the judge.
Thank you, John. Now watch this. It's Rhonda here on USA Up All Night. Your bedtime buddy will be back right after more of I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant on USA Up All Night. Yeah. Was that good? Was it good? Okay.
That was really good. That was very good. That was really very good.
You can have these now.
Thank you.
Huge thanks to Rhonda Shear for posting that clip, along with many other clips from her career. Lots of USA Up All Night content on her YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Rhonda Shear TV. Go ahead and visit that address. You're going to find a lot of great stuff there if you're a fan like me. Before I get into my rating system and the Trope Tracker and all that stuff for this wonderful film, directed by David DeCoteau, by the way, I would like to play a clip of an interview with Stuart Fratkin. He's going to tell you a few fun facts about the film. Stuart Fratkin played Marvin, the sidekick or best friend of our protagonist Wesley in this film. Take it away, Stuart.
What's happening, Dane? How you doing, man? So, congratulations, you have asked me a question about a piece of work that I did many, many years ago that nobody else has asked me in the past. But I will say that I was just talking about this very project to Zach Schaefer, who has a podcast called $2 Late Fee, which I've been on a couple of times. She interviewed Olivia Barish, who is in Dr. Alien, and then we started talking about it. So a couple of pieces of trivia about Dr. Alien. First and foremost, Dave DeCoteau, good dude, nice guy. This was a very simple audition for me at the time. In fact, I believe I was cast before Billy was. This was put out by a company, Charlie Band's company, back in the 80s. He had a company called Empire. And so I went in for this project during the writer's strike, I believe, of 1988. Improvised the shit out of it. Was hired pretty quickly. And then I proceeded to be called in to read with actors to portray the lead role that eventually went to Billy. So that's a little piece of trivia about the audition process. So a couple of other little snippets there. So I had been unemployed for quite a while, hence the very long hair, and I had just dyed my hair for the first time. No, I had dyed it before, but I had dyed it, and I remember specifically the color, sunny auburn. So that was one of my first and only times of growing my hair out, and I loved that time. A couple other pieces of trivia about that. So that character, Marvin, as I have done in many projects, I improvised quite a bit. So that character drove this car, which I was never told about, and it was stick, which I had never driven stick before. So I had to be taught how to drive stick, in addition to the steering wheel was on the opposite side, meaning that it was a UK, United Kingdom, car. So the steering was on the right-hand side as opposed to the left-hand side. That definitely created a shit ton of problems for me. Lastly, one of the very last scenes I had, I believe Dave DeCoteau was friends with a bunch of adult film stars, and so one of the scenes I had was with an actress named Linnea Quigley, who I did not know at the time was a adult film star. And so one of the crew members, I was doing a scene with her, and one of the crew members were like, "Hey man, do you know who that is?" And I was like, "No, just, some, actress." And they were like, "That's Linnea Quigley." And I was like, "Okay, so?" And they were like, "She's a porn actress." And I was like, "Okay, cool. What the fuck do I know? I don't know. I don't care." Anyway, she was very nice. Film came out funny, cheesy. And lastly, the original name for that script, which I personally liked better than the eventual title, was called I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant. So that is a little piece of trivia for Dr. Alien. Dane, thank you. Take care, buddy. Be well.
All right, thank you so much, Stuart, for that. And it's always great to hear when an actor has fond memories of a production and that he thinks the movie's funny, because I kind of agree with him there. Now, one thing that Stuart pointed out was the original title of I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant, which is what this film obviously aired as back on USA Up All Night before the title changed to Dr. Alien. So what's interesting about this film is Stuart did mention it was an Empire production. However, Empire was going bankrupt at the time that this was being filmed. And so head of Empire at that time, Charles Band, he actually instructed director David DeCoteau. He said, basically, the banks don't know that this production is happening right now, so please just get it in the can. And what happened was David DeCoteau did not tell the cast and crew anything about Empire folding, and he didn't want them to worry, and they went ahead and finished the movie. And it actually wound up being one of 3 pictures that Charles Band leveraged in his negotiations with Paramount Pictures in order to eventually get Full Moon features established, which, if you know anything about cult film, Full Moon is still around to this day and is Charlie Band's little baby. So very cool story there. And in case you're wondering, the other 2 films that he used to leverage that deal were Intruder, the horror film, and Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, which if you're a USA Up All Night fan, you know that that one was featured on that program. And so one day we'll be reviewing that as well. All right, I want to go ahead and get into the scoring for this film before we get too far into the nuts and bolts. And I'm going to rate it out of my 4 categories, which are story and screenplay, cast and performances, sleaze and gore, and production values. So I can score up to 80 points, 20 each from those 4 categories, and then we'll run it through the signature trope tracker to see if we can get up to 20 more points for employing some of my favorite tropes. And so the maximum any film can get is 100. We'll probably never get there, but it's always fun to give it a try. For story and screenplay, I'm going to give this a 16 out of 20, and you're probably wondering why so high for a movie called Dr. Alien, aka I Was a Teenage Sex Mutant. And the reason is this. The movie actually has a good plot, and it actually has good character development. It has a resolution that actually is quite sweet, way beyond more wholesome than it has any right to be given what goes on in the movie. But it also has a lot of humor in it, and a lot of the jokes still land to this very day. The script is actually really, really sharp. And while the plot may be basic and, follows certain tropes all the way through to fruition, it is a very entertaining film throughout. And again, I did not expect very much from this movie at all, but it has classic late 80s teen comedy charm. It brings some fun sci-fi elements, and it's just an overall interesting watch. Something that I actually had no issues watching over and over again in preparation for this video. Cast and performances. Again, they're working with an interesting story. They're asked to do a lot on a small budget with a crumbling production studio. For that, and for the names that were recruited and what they became in terms of cult classic status, This cast is kind of a dream cast for a film like this, and I'm giving it 18 out of 20 because everybody pulls their weight. First off, you have Billy Jacoby, or Billy Jane now as he is known, as your protagonist, Wesley. He's not too nerdy. You can see that there's room for him to become what he eventually becomes, which is like the stud who's attractive to women and ultimately a rock star, and he's able to play it convincingly. Which, shocker, he becomes a rock star in real life. He's a popular musician now in the LA scene, so props to Billy. He does a great job here, and his transformation and his narration of the film are great. Then you've got Judy Landers, star of many, many television shows throughout the 70s and 80s. She was a big recurring guest on Love Boat all the time. She had a recurring role on Knight Rider, did a lot of B movies and a lot of popular television shows. She has a sister who looks strikingly like her, Audrey Landers, who she's been in films and shows with as well. She plays Ms. Zenobia, the substitute professor turned alien. She's wonderfully tantalizing and comedic when she has to be. Then you've got Stuart Fratkin, who we've already heard from. He's your classic friend and sidekick in these 80s comedies. Films like Ski School, Teen Wolf 2. I mean, this is right in his wheelhouse, and he's perfectly cast in this role. Loved you in this one, Stuart. This film also gives us turns from Linnea Quigley and Ginger Lynn Allen, who would become co-stars later in Rick Sloane's USA Up All Night classic Vice Academy. And they're just incredible as 2/3 of a rock outfit called the Tang Poons. Yes, you heard me right, the Tang Poons. Incredible. They lip sync, obviously, the music that they're given, but the song that they're given is tremendous. And they are very convincing as these awesome rocker chicks. And they obviously bring it from an eye candy perspective, as they always did. And then we got to mention Laura Albert, who is the third member of the Tang Poons in this. She went on to have an incredible career as a stunt performer in A-budgeted productions. So you should definitely check out her list of credits on IMDb. Really good stuff there. Then you've got Michelle Bauer, also additional eye candy, another scream queen and B-movie icon. And when Ms. Zenobia turns into that blue alien that you can see on the cover of the movie poster and the VHS cover, that is actually Michelle Bauer under the suit playing the alien as well. So she was doing double duty, and just an awesome performer as always. This film also has some cameos from Elizabeth Kaitan of USA Up All Night fame. She was in Assault of the Killer Bimbos, which was one of the films that was at one time paired with this on USA Up All Night. And she was also in Friday the 13th, Part 7. She's wonderful and plays, she's got a few comedic scenes here as a waitress towards the end at the club, the hairy armpit. We've also got a cameo from Edie Williams. She's a collegiate level coach in one scene who's turned on by Wesley's appendage, as are most women. Like Judy Landers, Edie was in the movie Hellhole, a horror thriller film from the 80s. She's also a USA Up All Night all-star in her own right, having appeared in films like Man Killers, Hollywood Hot Tubs, and Rented Lips. And while Edie was perhaps best known for her role in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, directed by Russ Meyer, I actually would want you to check out The American Scream, which is an underrated horror comedy, and this is on Blu-ray currently from Culture Shock releasing. Definitely check this one out. It's a fantastically underrated film with a cameo from Edie as well. This film is populated with a very capable cast, and I'm just thrilled to give it an 18 out of 20. For production values, I'm going pretty high for a film like this. I'm going to give it a 15. One of the most important parts of the film is its final act, the third act, which deals with a lot of music. It's got the alien reveal, and a lot of that could not be pulled off without good production. So you have to have these two bands taking the stage in a rock club and being convincingly popular. The songs that they chose for both bands, the Tang Poons and Wesley's band, the Sex Mutants, are just fantastically catchy, even to this day. Would love to have a soundtrack of this on vinyl, by the way. If somebody ever wants to release it, totally give us that. Now, the regular music, composed music throughout the film isn't as great, but anytime you hear like a pop song or a rock song in this film, it's pretty solid stuff. And there's also the special effects, the alien effects. There's a scene where you find out that Ms. Zenobia is in fact a blue alien, and there's a great reveal special effect with her face change. There's a lot of explosions, laser blasts, and things like that in that final act. It's all pulled off very convincingly for a film of this budget. I see no major flaws in the production. I actually think this would look and sound fantastic if somebody would properly restore it and release it in high definition. And then finally, we have our Sleaze and Gore score. I want to be kind to this film without making it seem sleazy, because it's not. It does have a lot of T&A. It has scenes of a college kid being seduced by his professor rather willingly, but it doesn't ooze sleaze. It actually has a wholesome denouement in the final act, so I'm hesitant to score it too high or call it sleazy. There's not a lot in the way of gore. There's laser blasts and things like that, and to call that gore would be a huge stretch. But the movie does have a lot of what we would call T&A, not as much as something like Joysticks. So I'm going to go a little bit lower than Joysticks, and I'm going to give it a 13 out of 20. So we have a great score coming out of my 4 categories. Let's take a look at the Trope Tracker and see if it can pick up to 20 more additional points. Starting with Peeping Tom, does this film have one? Yes, it does. And just like in Ski School, it is played by Stuart Fratkin, who is Marvin in this film. Check out this scene.
Please, no! Ladies!
Do you have a nerd or a geek? Okay, this is tough for me. I want to give it the point, even though I know that Billy Jacoby / Billy Jane as Wesley is not playing your traditional nerd shtick character, but he is playing a character who is not going to be successful with women unless something changes. He's very bookish and quite frankly is made fun of by his younger brother, who is played by his younger brother in real life, for being kind of a nerd. So I'm going to give it the second point. Is there a shower or hot tub scene? Yes, we have a shower locker room scene, and you just saw it with the Peeping Tom deal, but let's take a closer look.
Straws or something? Ha! That's not what I meant.
Is there a montage? Yeah, there's a brief montage where Wesley is trying to figure out what to wear. Check it out.
When she's gone wrong, it's alright. And when the losses dance off limits, stand up and be prepared to fight. You've got to live what you believe in.
Cheesy song. Yes, actually in that last clip you heard probably what I would consider the cheesiest song in the movie, because some of them are actually really awesome, but that one definitely cheesy. Insatiable. Is there a horny older woman? Yeah, we could argue that Ms. Zenobia herself, although she's an alien, so who knows what her age is the horny older woman seducing a college student. But you could also say later in the film when Edie Williams shows up as the coach, horny for Wesley because of the appendage. Is there an on-screen kill? I'm going to give it the 7th point, 7 out of 7, which is an incredible start to the Trope Tracker. Now, we don't see anybody die, but Zenobia in alien form is blasting people right and left with her laser, and they're flying off the stage. Can we just say that at least one of them maybe died? Does this movie have a politician or mobster? No. Is there a nudie bag? No, I actually looked hard in several scenes for one, and most of them were rock and roll magazines in Wesley's room. And then later we see Vanity Fair being flipped through by a woman in the club. Is there a mall scene? No, most of the scenes take place at a college, at a rock club, Wesley's house, things of that nature. Weed alert. Nope, no weed in this one. Skinny dipping? No. Implication that sex equals death? No. Do we have punks? Yes, actually one of the band members from the Sex Mutants, Wesley's band, is quite the punk. Just check it out right here.
And this is Slash, lead guitar. He kind of runs a band. Somebody's got to.
Glitter glam with a touch of death and a definite punk anarchist influence.
You like to make people's ears bleed.
Does this movie have simulated farting? No, sorry. Is there a creature on the loose? No, and I do not count Zenobia as an alien in that. Suntan lotion? No. Fake commercial? No. Former or future A-lister? Now, people like you and I know names like Linnea Quigley, quite well. But the general public, they don't, unfortunately. So Judy Landers is probably the biggest name on this film. She's the A-list actor in this film, but she's not an A-list actor overall. She's not iconic enough to get the point here. Sorry. Finally, is there a USA Up All Night movie referenced in this? I'm going to give it the 9th and final point on the Trope Tracker for a mention of Freddy Krueger in this sequence here.
These dreams were getting pretty old. All that was missing was Freddy Krueger.
And as you know, several Nightmare on Elm Street installments were in fact aired on USA Up All Night. So 9 points there on the Trope Tracker. And that's going to give us a final score of 68, which is kind of crushing it. Now let's compare that 68 to other reviews around the world. So my 68 out of 100 represents about 68%. So we're going to go first with IMDb, which says 4.8 or 48%. So we think a lot more of it than the IMDb users. That's fine. Rotten Tomatoes, 31% audience score. So that's even lower than IMDb. Letterboxd, 2.9 out of 5 stars, which is about 58%. So we're still 10% higher than that. And then finally, 2 stars actually from Leonard Maltin. Again, 2 stars, not a bomb, from Leonard Maltin, who says in his 1998 movie and video guide, Landers is an alien who disguises herself as a college professor and transforms freshman Jacoby from wimp to dreamboat. Silly stuff with an all-star schlock movie supporting cast. It's times like these when I'm reminded of why I care what Leonard thinks. All right, so if you want to check out this movie on video, it's on DVD. It was released by Full Moon Features, so Charles Band apparently still owns the rights to release it and so on and so forth. Very cheap movie. You can get it for like $10. The issue is it needs to be fully restored and brought to high definition, in my opinion. So I'm making a plea here now for somebody like Culture Shock or Vinegar Syndrome or MVD Rewind. Please lease the rights from Charles Band for this and release a proper Blu-ray. We need like a fancy slipcover. We need special features. The people are around and willing to talk about this film, I know. That's it. I unabashedly love this movie, although it's a first-time watch for me recently. It's going to be one of my new favorites and something that I pine for on Blu-ray until it happens. So after this rewarding experience, all I can say is seek this film out. You can watch it actually on streaming services like Tubi for the time being. So definitely seek it out. And please join us next time for another episode of the USA Up All Night Companion. I'm Dane Michaels, signing out.